there are a lot of rumors right now about America turning on Israel. And honestly, the optics are looking worse and worse for the relationship between America and Israel right now. Um, but even so, I don't believe that it's really the case yet. Now, yes, America and all nations will completely turn on Israel. That will happen. Um, Israel is going to make this covenant with death because she feels that this is her refuge, though. And if all nations are turning against her before she makes the deal, why is she going to make the deal? She is turning, she's making this deal with death because she thinks it's her only hope. So I do believe that America is still a huge player in helping her feel safe. One day all the nations will turn on her, but for right now, I think this is actually more of a bargaining strategy than a real true rift. I think it's more perhaps of the art of the deal, where and honestly, this may be kind of a juvenile way to think about it, but my first thought is it's it's like the whole playing hard to get with the dating, because in a lot of ways Trump and America have been love bombing Israel and just coming with everything. And it's very, the way it goes a lot of times when somebody that's really out to get you, they'll love bomb you and then they'll kind of step back a little bit, because that's how you get something from the person that you want to get something from, is then to step back. And that being part of the art of the deal there, it may just be part of making Israel bend in a way that she didn't want to bend. So maybe that's part of getting her to divide, getting her to do this two-state solution that Israel has been very open about not wanting to do this, not thinking that it is absolutely suicide. And so maybe that's part of what this is. I don't really think that we're going to see America completely turn on Israel right now. I don't think that's the case, but I do think maybe this is a bargaining chip. But here we see Netanyahu-Trump relationship is strained over differing Middle East solutions. Um, Hamas and US reach a deal. I think we'll have to detox from US security assistance, says Netanyahu. And we have seen today Netanyahu has come right out, yesterday and today, and said, "This is it. Um, we are going into Gaza and we're going to level it." And that is really interesting that he's saying that, because we know biblically that is what happens. Biblically, one way or another, Gaza will be completely leveled. Read Zephaniah 2. Gaza will be completely leveled, but it will not be rebuilt. This is not going to end up being rebuilt for hotels and the, Riviera of the Middle East. That's not going to happen. It will be left for flocks of Judah. And it may be that it's leveled with every intention to be rebuilt, but then it's not because the tribulation happens. But we know biblically it won't be rebuilt. And so it's interesting to see how these things come forward. Um, Trump, the Middle East visit, Israel shifts from central player to distant observer. And again, that the peripheral here from Israel being, America being the best friend ever of Israel, to Israel kind of being on the back burner, and threats even being made that the Abraham Accords, that these deals will go through without Israel having a say in it, which is interesting how that could even happen. So, is America turning her back to Israel? And again, I don't think so just yet. I do believe this is a bargaining strategy. And so, although I don't think that this is happening yet, I don't think that this is a good thing. I think that the part that America is playing in luring Israel into the Abraham Accords is extremely dangerous. Um, if you have any fear of God at all, this should be very concerning to you. Outright cursing God's chosen land, Israel, and his chosen people, Israel, is obviously a very bad idea. God clearly states those who bless Israel will be blessed, those who curse her will be cursed. But luring her into a deal that will divide her land is arguably a worse idea if you have any fear of God. If you know scripture, this is a very bad idea. So, this is, after all, the reason God gathers all nations together to destroy them. This is the reason he gives, because they divided his land. So, America has been Israel's last defender and protector for many years. America has been the one that would veto and would stand up in the UN's meetings. The UN has been so just vehemently, demonically against God's people. It's ridiculous. And America has been the only defender in a lot of cases. America's been her only real ally in a sea of hateful nations that are bent on destroying her. And as a result, America has been blessed, and Israel has put her trust in America. Now, we know how this ends biblically. And I'd always hoped that, it would be because of the rapture, because we know biblically, Israel doesn't have anybody during the tribulation to run to but God. And that's actually where she finds her salvation. It's because she no longer has anybody to run to but God. And as I'd always hoped that that was because the rapture happened. And it took America out because, the rapture happened and it weakened America. But now it appears the trust that has been stored up may be used to lure Israel into this covenant with many that starts the tribulation and as a result secures the destruction of all the nations. And it may just be that America is at the head of the nations that are destroyed. Um, there are very strong cases when you look at Babylon, the city, and Generation 2434. Tyler does the best job I have seen of describing how the seat of Babylon being in America now, and specifically even in New York. And so, with everything that's going on with the UN meetings and with the way that everything is coming together to lure her into this, it is interesting how that may be what happens. It may be that the rapture weakens America, but it may be the real reason that America is not there to protect Israel is because of this, because of luring her into making this deal with death and an immediate hit to America as a result of that sudden destruction. So that's my speculation. I do not know, but that is looking more and more like it could be the case. So Israel sees recognition of Palestinian state will force unilateral actions in response. So right now, Israel is seeing this recognition of a Palestinian state to be a direct affront. And so something is going to have to give, really, I believe, in order for Israel to be a willing participant in this. And the covenant with many will usher in Jacob's trouble. So this is going to be the worst time in history. And it's also going to bring in salvation for Jacob and Israel, for Jacob, which is Israel. And so, we see everything coming together for the tribulation. Right now, it's not just the Abraham Accords that are being expanded and worked on right now in the Middle East. beast technology, beast system insanity is happening right now. We have AI. Saudi Arabia just launched their AI system, which is called Humane, Humain. And it and so they have, along with Trump, Elon Musk, Sam Altman. They've got technocrats. Um, I believe Ellis, they've got a bunch of them. They've got where you can see like a list. I think Bubba News, he does a great job of keeping up with things. I think he did a list of those that were there, and you can look at the videos and see who all was there, shaking hands with MBS in Saudi Arabia today. But so much is going forward with this entire control system that's going to be used during the tribulation. So it's very interesting because here we see the covenant being strengthened and being worked on along with the system itself to rule the people. And it's really very, very interesting what all is unfolding this week. So just because America here, um, so okay, so believers here, we need to understand that this is bittersweet. It can be exciting because we're seeing the Bible happen. And we know as we see the tribulation get so close, we know our rescue comes first. We know if we see the tribulation this close, if we can almost see the white of the Antichrist eyes, even though we don't know who he is, we're watching for Jesus, not for the Antichrist, but we are so close. That means seeing our King is even closer. We are about to see Jesus face to face. And so we know the end of the story, but we still should not celebrate what God clearly calls evil. God will destroy all the nations that are part of dividing Jerusalem. Zechariah 12:3. We know what he thinks about these things, so we should have no part in celebrating them. Just because America is pressuring the covenant as the good cop, in contrast to nations bent on destroying Israel, doesn't change the truth that dividing the land, that is God's red line. That's it. Zechariah 12:3, and in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut to pieces, though all people of the earth would be gathered together against it. The whole world right now is trying to get this Middle East deal done. This is, Macron is in on it. They're all the world leaders. This is at the forefront in June, right at right at Pentecost, right at Shavuot time, right? Why does the enemy want to strategically pick God's holy days? Because I think he's poking the eye of God with these things. Pentecost, they'll be meeting to divide God's land. Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, they'll be meeting to try to divide God's land. So right now, the world is telling Israel the only way to peace, security, and prosperity. We know when they say peace and security, sudden destruction will come upon them. So right now, the whole world is telling Israel their only way is by dividing their land, their God-given land. The land actually belongs to God. Remember, he said, for dividing my land, it's his land, and he gave it to Israel. No, it's already been cut up. It's already done. The land has already been cut up, and they're going to continue to cut it up. But it's going to continue to be compromised, and it's going to continue to be done for a lie. And so here, President Trump will issue a declaration regarding the state of Palestine and the American recognition of it. And there will be an establishment of a Palestinian state without the presence of Hamas. So thinking maybe that will be a cherry to give to Israel in the mess of all of that. And then here, Smoltrich said Israel will not commit suicide for ties here with Rada, for ties here with Saudi Arabia. So they're saying they don't want to commit suicide in order to do this. Here he said normalization will only happen through the peace for peace formula and not by establishing a Palestinian terror state. So they have to feel like they have some assurance that it's not going to be a terror state. So Saudi optimistic about securing Trump backing for Palestine recognition this week. Again, this should make anybody that knows the Bible, this should make you very nervous for our nation because God is very clear to not do this, to not divide up God's land. And so here, I believe the Saudis and Qataris plan to pressure our country for a Palestinian state or something akin to it during this trip. Now, I want to just pause right here because what did Qatar give Trump? They gave him a palace in the sky. And Syria is promising him a Trump tower in Damascus. Now, we know that's not going to work out well because Damascus is going to be destroyed. But yeah, this is very, very interesting. And understand Qatar, they are supporters of Hamas and terrorists. Syria, supporter of ISIS. These are terrorist organizations, terror funders, terror nations, giving gifts to try to secure dividing up Israel. This is very, very bad. So for Qatar, it means a permanent terrorist state will continue to fund and try to destroy Israel. Remember, Qatar is a close ally of Iran's and has spent billions on Hamas, the Taliban, and terror groups throughout the world. For the Saudis, they believe it will be a face-saving measure to enable them to join the Abraham Accords. See, it's all about dividing the land of Israel and making this covenant with death.